Hello everyone, bringing you a video today which is something of a follow-up to a Mannequin of the Month video I made earlier in the year on 4-1 Independent Commando, which was a unit which served out in Korea during the Korean War. As the anniversary of the outbreak of the Korean War has just been and gone, the 70th anniversary, I thought some more Korean War oriented content would be good, hopefully of interest to people. 4-1 Independent Commando is an interesting unit in and of itself, and I thought it was worth covering the uniform worn in a little bit more detail than was possible in the Mannequin of the Month video. Very kindly, Ramsey has lent me his M1 Garand and M1 bayonet for this recreation, which is included in the video, but I thought it would also be worth running over a little bit of the unit history first as well, not in great depth, but in enough depth to give you sort of a background to their operations. There's a lot more information available online, of course. There are books available as well, but there, as I say, there is quite a lot of information available online regarding their operations, and part of their operations around Chosin, which we'll get into a little bit later in the video, are very well documented, of course, in an infamous period of the Korean War. The original 4-1 Commando had been disbanded in 1946. It was reconstituted as 4-1 Independent Commando in August of 1950 for service in Korea, as the pre-existing units of 3 Commando Brigade were heavily involved in the emergency in the fighting in Malaya. The bulk of the men forming 4-1 Independent Commando were volunteers from the UK, and they were flown out to Japan, with bodies of men volunteering from the British Pacific Fleet and some drawn from replacements originally intended for the 3 Commando Brigade in Malaya. Lieutenant Colonel Drysdale was commanding. The Commando was deployed to add to the raiding forces available to the UN Command for attacks on the infrastructure in the north, railway lines, bridges and so on. Very traditional Commando role in that regard. In November of 1950, the Commando joined the US 1st Marine Division in the UN Advanced North, where they became heavily involved in one of the most infamous events of the Korean War, which was the fierce fighting around the Chosin Reservoir in the freezing conditions of the Korean winter. During these operations, Lieutenant Colonel Drysdale led the appropriately named Task Force Drysdale from Kotaro-ri to the beleaguered US Marine Corps base at Chagaru-ri in a costly effort to reinforce the garrison there before joining the breakout, suffering further heavy casualties in the process. Subsequent to this ordeal, the Commando was transferred back to Japan to retrain, re-equip and absorb reinforcements to take up its raiding role once more, working alongside the Republic of Korea Marine Corps. 4-1 Independent Commando was finally returned to the UK in late 1951 and was again disbanded in February of 1952. The recreation here represents a Marine of 4-1 Independent Commando in the autumn of 1950 on a coastal raid to destroy enemy infrastructure. As can be seen here, most of the equipment and uniform is of US origin, with the volunteers from the UK having been flown out wearing civilian clothes. The commandos were equipped from US stores. This includes the weapons used, and the weapon carried here is the M1 rifle, and as can be seen, the M1 bayonet is fixed, this particular M1 being a shortened M1905 bayonet. Looking at the uniform, starting at the top and working down, we have the green commando beret here, worn without a cap badge, which is very common to see in period photographs of the commandos in Korea. The basic uniform is the M1943 field jacket and trousers, with some cold weather clothing, including the US 5-button sweater, which can be seen at the jacket opening, and the hood of the M1943 jacket is also attached, again common to see in photographs of men of 4-1 Independent Commando in Korea. Suitable for the raiding role, the load carried is light but heavy on ammunition, with the M1923 cartridge belt worn around the waist, with additional ammunition carried in a bandolier, each pocket of the belt and bandolier carrying an 8-round clip for the M1 rifle. Slung from the belt on the left front hip, a pair of M1938 wire cutters can be found in their carrier, naturally a useful tool to have when engaged in sabotage operations. And further out on the left hip, we have the scabbard for the M1 bayonet. On the right hip, the M1910 canteen is carried in its cover. All of the web equipment shown is in the dark OD7 colour, whilst some of the earlier tan OD3 US equipment does appear in Korea. Most was OD7 by this point. Footwear consists of boots SV. These are essentially a rubber-soled version of the British ammo boot, using an Ithside Commando sole. These were introduced for Commando use during the Second World War, and these were worn with wool puttees in this instance, though hose tops and even trousers tucked into socks are also seen. So there we are, that was a rundown of the basic kit of a Marine of 4-1 Independent Commando in Korea on a raid in the autumn of 1950. So there we are, I do hope you found that interesting. If you have and you'd like to see more from the channel, then please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. And whether you're newly subscribing or you've already subscribed, please do make sure you hit the little notification button, the little bell down below, which will of course alert you when I upload future videos. If you really like my uploads and you would like to support the channel, you can. There is both Patreon and PayPal link down below. As ever, a great thank you to those who have supported the channel using those two methods. It's greatly appreciated, as I always say. If you want to follow the channel on social media, you can. There's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and there will, of course, be photographs from this posted up on those platforms as well if you want to go and take a look. And if you want to contact me but you don't really use social media, you can. There is an email address down below as well, all in the description. So that's everything I wanted to cover in this video. So until next time, bye for now.